Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Joy Elizabeth and I just get on here and share with you my embroidery journey and the things that I've learned along the way. And today we're going to be learning something along the way together. I'm going to attempt some of this reverse hooping or upside down hooping that I've heard a little bit about. Honestly, it was from a viewer on this channel. I had never heard of it before and they asked me if I had ever done it or would consider doing a video, and I honestly had never heard of it. So I looked it up and I think I have the general idea, and I've run into a diaper bag that I have to embroider today, and oh my goodness, doesn't this look like it's going to be just the easiest thing ever to embroider? No, I wish. I was excited when I saw the big pocket. I was like, perfect, Mighty Hoops, we got this. Wrong. Okay, so we've got a pocket in the inside and plastic, and it's too thick. So I got three things going against me, even though it was like this nice big pocket, and I was so hopeful until I took it out of the packaging. So here's the problem. The first thing that I wanted to do was just go ahead and hoop it with my Mighty Hoop. But even without stabilizer here, pick that part up, and it's not straight, but that doesn't matter because it's not going to happen today. It's just not going to hold it. So what are we going to do? Well, normally I would just use the shoe device from Buy, and you guys can check out my other videos. I'll put it up here in the frame somewhere and you guys can check that video out on how I use the shoe device to embroider a bag very similar to this one. So this is probably what I should be doing today, but I thought, you know what, let's see, what would I do if I didn't have that, and how would I hoop this? How would we work around this? So I have a couple of different, I have the bigger Mighty Hoop, but I'm gonna try to do it with my 5.5. I did print this a little bit bigger than what it's actually gonna stitch out. After I printed it, I made it a tiny bit smaller. So it should work. Now, when I've kind of researched a little bit here about the upside down reverse hooping, I've noticed people are using fast frames a lot and the sticky stabilizer. I do not have sticky stabilizer. I've never really used it. I'm usually just use tape and pins, okay? But I do have the 8-in-1 magnetic frames that used to come from Buy. They don't sell them anymore, but you can still use fast frames. And I believe if you just get them to fit a Tajami multi-needle embroidery machine, they should fit your Buy embroidery machine as well. But the 8-in-1s that Buy used to sell are these. They're basically, they're essentially fast frames with a magnet frame that kind of connects on top. Oof. Which again, in this case, probably wouldn't work anyways because it wouldn't fit. It wouldn't magnetize. It wouldn't magnetize through the bag. At least, I don't think it would. I don't think Mighty Hoops is stronger than these, but we'll see here real quick. Yeah, it ain't gonna work. So what you could do is you could use your 8-in-1s. But I think that most of y'all have the Mighty Hoops, and if I were to well, now knowing that you can't buy these anymore, I still use these once in a while because they are nice and flat, and the smaller ones. All 8 were not great, okay? The larger, if you went larger than this one, there was a ton of shaking, and I would like literally have to like hold the frame steady while it's stitched out and just babysit it. And if you're using a bigger frame than this, it was probably a longer stitch out and you didn't want to be doing that. But these two sizes and some of the smaller sizes were ones that I used all the time. So anyways, I do still use these occasionally, probably not so much for videos because like I said, they don't sell them anymore, and I try to keep things current for you. So what we're gonna try is we're gonna try the Mighty Hoops today. Let's just see if we can figure this out together. I've never done this, and then I think a lot of times they're doing it with like a pocket that's too small, but then also in this case where it's just too thick, okay? Now, because it has that plastic inside, that cooler plastic, I don't like embroidering through that at all. But because it's on the inside of a pocket, of a diaper bag that has a ton of pockets, and as a mom of 3, I know that pocket's probably not going to get used as much as you think it would. And I could be wrong. Maybe everybody's a little bit different. I'm not going to worry too much about it. If it was a lunchbox and it was opening and closing all the time, I would probably tell the client, hey, let's try a patch, or let's try doing a tag, like a, what are they called? One of those cute little bag tags. There we go. That's the word. So but I know a lot of people embroider straight through, and I'm just taping my stabilizer to the table so that when I hoop it, it doesn't like move on me. I don't know. It's just kind of what I've come to start doing. It's fast and easy. Okay. I'm just thinking here, guys, how we're gonna do this. So with that being plastic, what I want to use on the inside is a cutaway stabilizer. Now, because we're reverse hooping, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut out that hole where the embroidery is gonna be. But I still want to have, I like when, if I have to go through the plastic, I like to use a cutaway stabilizer because I just feel like it's gonna hold that A and the E and that top of the G. It's at least gonna hold those parts in, so when that perforates, it doesn't pull the inside of those letters out. And then it's just gonna kind of cover some of that outer stitching. So it's not that it's not gonna perforate, it's still gonna perforate it a ton, and it still might peel a little bit, but I think that my opinion, you feel free to have a different opinion. I feel like the cutaway is just gonna kind of like help hold things together a little bit. And again, if it was a different pocket where it didn't have this zipper, and it was just full open right there, I probably would tell the client, listen, this is what's gonna happen, and I'm not comfortable doing it, but I've done them before, and I know a lot of people, they just embroider straight through them, and that's fine. So we're just gonna go with this today. Okay, so all that to say, I want to have stabilizer on the back. So we're gonna cut a piece of stabilizer, and I'm gonna either use my spray adhesive, or actually I probably could use a scrap here. Okay, so I've got myself a piece of scrap. I'm gonna use my basting spray and bond basting spray. And then we're gonna put it on the inside of this pocket. And the other thing that we're gonna have to deal with is the top part. The top part of that zipper. We're gonna pin that up out of the way as well. Now, if I was using the shoe device, I would just be putting the stabilizer in here same way as I'm doing right now, but then just put it on the machine with that shoe device. All right, so we're gonna pin, where'd my pins go? We're gonna pin this up, and then we're going to work on the reverse hooping. So let me get my pins and pin that out of the way. Okay, I moved to the larger hoop. I just didn't want to chance it going with that smaller hoop. Here's something I'm gonna do. This is, again, I am figuring this out as we go, but I'm gonna make my crosshair on my stabilizer. Oops. Okay, that is not the best line there, but all right. Okay, that way, when I cut out this part to kind of place it on the bag, well, even still right here, I'll be able to see. Okay, the other thing that I see that everybody else is doing is using a sticky stabilizer, which I do not have today. So we're going to use the basting spray. Base the bottom of it. I'm just thinking now if I stick it and unstick it, I might have to spray it again to get that hole cut. And then I'm still going to use a ton of pins because we want to make sure. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut it now. Okay, so I went ahead and cut a hole not big enough, but just so I can get this lined up here. Okay. Okay, so there, the sticky stabilizer is really not holding anything. There's a piece of tape back there. So we are gonna definitely be pinning a lot of this. And I think, let me just make sure we're lined up. So you can see my crosshair. I know it's a black. I should have printed this in a different color. It's actually gonna be stitched out in gray. So you can see that they're lined up there. Okay. So now, and we got the notch going the right way, so the machine's gonna go in right. Now we're gonna pin, 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 pin. Okay, I've got my first row of pins, and now I'm gonna set another bunch of pins further out to kind of hold it in place. And I am being careful not to go through that plastic on the other side. I'm just catching basically the first layer of fabric and some of that padding. Okay, that feels like it's gonna work. So let's go ahead and, sorry if my camera's shaking a little bit. Let's go ahead and get this on the machine. We've got lots of pins. Everything seems like it's gonna work. So here's kind of like the inside. So I did still put some stabilizer on the inside just because of that plastic. And then I just think it also is gonna protect that plastic so it doesn't get torn or snagged on the machine. So, and I've safety pinned the zipper and pin the zipper up out of the way. Again, trying not to go through that plastic as much as possible. I try to avoid going through that plastic. All right, let's get this on the machine. Here we go. So I'm gonna kind of support the bottom of the bag because I don't want it to, like, I don't know. It's a cutaway stabilizer, so it shouldn't rip off the pins, but just in case, I got tape all over the place. Okay. All right, and then I'm also feeling the bottom to make sure when I slide this on, I'm not smushing that inside stabilizer since it's really just on there with some sticky adhesive spray. Okay. Supporting, this bag is not, I've done some heavier, what do you call them, diaper bags before, so this one's not bad. I'm supporting it a little bit just to see how our trace does. Okay, that looks good. I am gonna drop the bag and see how it traces without me holding the bag. What is it catching on? Something underneath, let me see. Oh, it's the safety pin up in the corner. I think that'll be all right. Okay, so here we go. Moment of truth. We're gonna pull our paper out. And I've already selected, I've got it on needle 4. I've already selected the color. So I think we're ready to go. Okay, that actually went really, really smoothly. So let me pull it over to the table and start taking these pins out. All right, let's just pull all these pins. I used a lot of pins. I was nervous, I'm not gonna lie. But the fact that you're seeing this video means that I probably figured it out, or I am bringing you a different way to fix it or something, because I'm not going to be posting a video if it's not useful information. So this, I do believe, was useful information. A customer request, they wanted the gray to match the top gray. It maybe doesn't stand out the best, but again, that's what the customer wanted. I think gray would have been my choice too. It's just, I don't know. This color, these bags have been very popular, and I don't know, I'm not really a big fan of them. I don't really think they're, I don't know. They're not my style. Let's put it that way. The color schemes and such are just, Okay, so this one is not going to be too difficult to get in there. And it doesn't look like it perforated it too terribly, but again, we don't want to be in there moving that around a lot. So we are going to be very careful and snip this stabilizer out. We want to make it look kind of nice and neat. We don't want to leave it a mess in there. But I just think, personally, I don't know. I just think this kind of holds, it's just gonna be a little extra measure to hold some of that in there. And I'm just doing this from experience, guys. I did somebody's diaper bag once, and it was the same thing. Had that, and I had done lunch boxes before. I guess I just either didn't notice or it just didn't happen in my care. But I have to wonder, when it's back with the customer and they're using the item and it's getting moved around a bunch, is it gonna pull away? That's like my fear, right? But anyways, I did a bag and the inside letter started to like completely pull out, and so I was pretty mortified. And ever since then I've been extra careful. So, and look, like that is just gonna, in my opinion, that's just what I do. Anyways, zip that back up. Zip this back up. You know, it matches pretty well with that gray, I think. Okay, so I'm very happy with how it turned out. Thank you guys so much for coming along with me as I experimented for the first time this reversed hooping, or this upside down hooping, and actually I'm very impressed, and I'm probably going to use it again in the future with other hard to hoop items, because one of the things about this way, I think the largest design that I personally felt comfortable getting on here was about a 6-inch. Now it opens up about 7 inches if I'm trying to think, I don't have my tool here. But comfortably 5.5, 6 pushing it inches wide. This design I did go smaller because I think, so this is a 5-inch. This would have been perfect for the shoe device, but I did have in the past I had another client who wanted it as big as they could get it. I think I did a video on that. I can pop that in here. But I really couldn't get it as big, and maybe I couldn't have even with the reverse hooping. I don't know. Maybe even with the reverse hooping, it wouldn't have worked out that time for me, but I do believe that there are going to be times where I'm going to have a smaller pocket, or they're going to want it in a location that is going to be very difficult to hoop. Actually, I just had some bags. I'll pop the picture in right here. She wanted them in that lower left-hand corner. That in the picture is as far over into the corner that I could get it with my Mighty Hoop, hooping it the traditional way. Now I wonder, and I don't know for sure because obviously I don't have the bag anymore, I can't try it out, but I'm wondering if with this method, would I have been able to push it a little bit further in that corner. Those bags though, honestly, with the mirror machine, with the space that you have between the two legs on the machine, that bag was very stiff, so it was like crushing it on one side, and I was really afraid that it was like gonna bump it off register or something. I mean, they looked like they would have been easy to embroider, and they weren't difficult. They weren't terribly difficult. But if I'd pushed it more into that corner too, I still wonder if, even with the reverse hooping, if it would have just been, the bag was stiff and there just isn't like a ton of space between. It was a very large bag. So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for this reverse hooping and this upside down hooping, but I'm excited that I've learned something new myself. I hope that you've learned too as you've watched with me. And if you're watching this, maybe it's because you are in a situation right now where you need to figure out how to hoop a hard to hoop item. So maybe this is going to work for you. My advice is always trace it out on your machine. Once you have it all hooped, if in my experience, it's not just if I can hoop it, it's if I can hoop it and trace it out on my machine. If it traces out on my machine without seeming to bump anything, without seeming to snag anything, then you're pretty good. And I'm not gonna lie, because I was nervous, I did hold the weight of the bag a little bit through some of the stitching. I think it would have been okay, but I was just nervous. So I was like, okay, holding the weight, making sure nothing fell, nothing, but anyways, so I'm so glad that you guys came along with me and learned something new with me. I hope that you learned. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe. Shoot me a comment. Have you tried this reverse hooping before? What are you hooping this way? What are you finding that is like the most useful in hooping? Is it smaller pockets? Is it thicker things like this? How do you do it? Do you do the pin method like I did today? Are you using the sticky stabilizer? I would love to know, because like I said, I am learning along with y'all. So thank you guys so much for joining. I will see you guys in the next video.